Hey, this is Dr. Berry. Let's talk for just a few minutes about the topic of resistant starch. This topic has been concerning me for a while, and this video is specifically for people with diabetes, type 1 and type 2, with prediabetes, and with insulin resistance. You guys really need to know this information and not fall for this, what I consider to be a myth. If you know a diabetic or someone who's pre-diabetic, overweight, insulin resistance, please consider sharing this video with them. This information could literally change or even save their life. So, resistant starch, have you heard of this? Basically, the concept is if you take a starch like pasta or rice or potatoes and you cook it, and then you refrigerate it overnight. There's some magical chemical reaction that happens to this starch in the refrigerator overnight that turns a lot of the starch into resistant starch. And somehow that lowers the glycemic index of the potato or the rice or the pasta. Wouldn't that be nice if this were true? And so I've looked into this for several months, and I had a episode at the clinic recently that really fired me up about this topic, and that's what I want to talk to you about. And so, what is this mysterious chemical reaction that happens in the refrigerator? Typically, chemical reactions require heat input or energy input in order to be able to react. But somehow this reaction happens by removing the heat energy in the refrigerator. Maybe it's being in the dark in the refrigerator because nobody knows if the light's on or off when the door's closed, right? So there have been large luminaries in the ketogenic space who have actually advocated resistant starch, saying that once you refrigerate a starch overnight, that a large portion of it turns to resistant starch, and that you cannot then digest this starch in your stomach or your small intestine. It travels all the way to your large intestine, where it breaks down and rots and decomposes. And the bacteria in your gut use this resistant starch as food, and then they give you short chain fatty acids in return. Now, I've had a problem with the common sense of this for quite a while, but only recently I had a traveling patient come to see me from another state. They were a diabetic and they had a CGM, or a continuous glucose monitor. And they said, Dr. Berry, something's wrong with me. And I said, why do you say that? They said, well, you know the resistant starch thing. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard of it. And they said, well, I've taken pasta, whole grain pasta, cooked it, and then refrigerated it, and have actually thawed it out, then re-refrigerate it several days in a row. But yet, when I eat it, my blood sugar still spikes. And I can tell my blood sugar's sky high when I eat this resistant starch. And that really got me to thinking there could be many diabetics and pre-diabetics in the world who are being harmed by this resistant starch myth. And so I contacted a few other diabetics that I know who have CGMs, and I said, hey, would you be willing to do this experiment one time? Had four people say, yeah, I'll do it one time. And so one would use a boiled potato, and they would refrigerate it and overnight, and then they would eat it cold, as we're told to do by some of the experts in this area. And their blood sugar, they could just see it going straight up on their CGM. And they said, "Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm resistant to the resistant starch, but my blood sugar still went sky high." And so even one luminary that we all look up to is said on video, on a YouTube video, that if you do this process several days in a row, you can basically turn pasta or rice or a potato into an avocado. You can make all the starch in it essentially undigestible and have no blood sugar response at all. And every single patient that I had try this experiment said, nope, my blood sugar spiked just as high, no matter how many times I had heated and cooled and chilled and heated the potato or the pasta or the rice or the other starch. And so this is a warning to everyone out there who has some degree of glucose sensitivity, prediabetes, diabetes, either type 1 or type 2. Please watch your blood sugar. If you've bought into the resistant starch myth, don't just blindly believe that. Check your blood sugar after you've eaten that resistant starch at 30 minutes, 1 hour, and 2 hours. Or if you have a CGM, watch it very carefully after you eat this resistant starch meal. I think you'll find your blood sugar spikes just as high as if you ate the pasta straight out of the strainer without it ever going to the refrigerator. Have any of you noticed this in your personal life? If so, please put in the comments your experience with resistant starch. So, my recommendation, don't eat starch. Putting starch in the refrigerator makes no sense that would magically make it resistant starch. I don't, that just doesn't make sense to me. And then the N equals 4 or 5 experiment that I've kind of done with this says, nope, this does not help the starch, not spike my blood sugar at all. Now, so pasta's pasta. I don't care how many days you put it in the fridge and then thaw it out, put it in the fridge and thaw it out. Pasta is pasta, rice is rice, potatoes are potatoes, starch is starch. You should avoid it. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, please consider clicking the subscribe button. I think it's right down there, and the little bell right beside it so that every time I get a bright idea, you'll be one of the very first to know. If this video or other videos I've made has helped your health in some way, please consider clicking on my Patreon link down below. You can sign up very quickly and you can throw a buck or two my way so that I have more time to make more videos just like this. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.